Hi friends, Sunil here. Welcome to this channel. In this video, we are going to do a program in Python to check whether a given year is a leap year or not using the nested if else condition and the logical operators. A year is considered to be a leap year if it is exactly divisible by 4. But in case of century year, it should also be divisible by 400. Century year means year that ends with 00, like 1900, 2000, 2100 and so on. Now we'll see the flowchart for this. Here I am inputting the year. Then this condition, it is checking whether the year is exactly divisible by 4. That means remainder is 0. So if it is not divisible by 4, it will follow this path and return false. It is not a leap year. If the year is not exactly divisible by 4, it is not a leap year. If it is divisible by 4, then we are coming down here and checking whether it is divisible by 100. If it is divisible by 100 means it is a century year. So if it is not divisible by 100, then it is a leap year. That means a year which is divisible by 4 but not a century year is a leap year. A non-century year which is divisible by 4 is a leap year. But if it is a century year, it will come down here and check whether it is divisible by 400. In case of century year, if it is divisible by 400, then it is a leap year. So if it is divisible by 400, it will follow this path and return true. But a century year, if it is not divisible by 400, then it will follow this path and return false. Now this is the code for that. Here I am defining a function isLeapYear A with one argument. The argument is the year which we are going to check. Now that year we are checking here. If year %4 is equal to 0, that means if it is divisible by 4, then it will go for the checking whether it is a century year. If it is not divisible by 4, it will come to this else and return false. That is this condition. If it is not divisible by 4, it will follow this path and return false. That is this else. If it is not divisible by 4, it will come to this else and return false. If it is divisible by 4, then we are checking for the leap year. That is this condition, this check. So we are checking whether it is divisible by 100. That means we are checking whether it is a century year. So if it is not a century year, then it is a leap year. It will return true. That is this route. If it is not a century year, then it will return true. Leap year is true. That means a non-century year which is divisible by 4, it is returning true. A non-century year, it will come here if it is not a century year and it will return true. Now if it is a century year, it will come down here to the next if and check whether it is divisible by 400. That is this check. So if it is a century year and divisible by 400, it will return true. That is, it will, if it is divisible by 400, it will follow this path and return true. But a century year not divisible by 400, it will come to this else and return false. That is this route. It will return false. So we are returning true under two circumstances. The first condition is if it is a non-century year which is divisible by 4, that is this, then we are returning true. The next condition is we are returning true when it is a century year and divisible by 400. If it is a century year and divisible by 400, then we are returning true. So under these two conditions, we are returning true. Otherwise, it is false. Now the same result can be obtained by using the logical operators. So here for that I am using another function isLeapYear B, and same year I am giving as the argument here, then this one statement is enough for checking the leap year. If when we are using the logical and or operators, this one statement will do the check for leap year. So here what happens is, year person 4 is equal to 0 if year is divisible by 4 and any one of these condition in this parenthesis, because we are having a or here. So there are two conditions here. If any one of these condition is satisfied along with this condition, then it will return true. Year is a leap year. That means a year is divisible by 4 and it is a non-century year, then it will return true. Otherwise, if year is divisible by 4 and it is also divisible by 400, in that case also it will return true. So as I told you before, under two conditions it will return true. So we will see the corresponding statements here. If year is divisible by 4 is mandatory, so that is this condition, year is divisible by 4. And if it is a non-century year, that is this condition, non-century year. If it is a non-century year, it will come to this else and return true. So year divisible by 4 and non-century year. So here also it will return true. If it is a non-century year and year is divisible by 4, it is returning true. So that is these two conditions. Year is divisible by 4 and it is a non-century year means this else. It is returning true. And the second condition it returns true is if year is divisible by 4 and also divisible by 400. That is, it is this. Year is divisible by 4 and also divisible by 400. Here also it is returning true. So that same thing here, year is divisible by 4 and it is divisible by 400. Then also it will return true. So we will run the code for this by using both the functions. Same year we will test it with both the functions. So this is the code, same code. Here in the program, I am accepting the year from the console and storing in variable YR. Then from this print statement here, I am calling the function isLeapYear a using YR as the parameter. Now this is the function definition of isLeapYear a, having the argument YR. Then here we are doing the checking for leap year using the nested if else. Now after that, from this print statement down here, I am calling isLeapYear b, another function here. That is function, this is the function definition for that, isLeapYear b, using the same year as the argument and checking for leap year using the logical operators. Now we will execute this and see. Asking me to enter the year 2020. 2020 is a leap year. In both the ways we are testing this using nested if else and logical operators. Both way it is giving me true. 1900 is not a leap year, it is giving me false. Nineteen not 4 is a leap year. In both the ways it is giving me true. Then 2004 is a leap year. So hope you understood this, how to check a leap year using nested if else and using the logical operators and or. If you like this video, share it with your friends and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks very much.